I make a lot of money selling covered calls, but the question I'm always asked is how do you know which stocks pay the highest premiums? How do you find them? I'm going to show you. Now, there are stock screeners that you can use for this method. You can find stocks using screeners. I've never used them, so I'm not going to make a video about something I don't know about. The way that I do this is that I know that this method works best with highly volatile stocks. Highly volatile stocks pay higher premiums, so you got to know. What are the volatile stocks? Highly volatile stocks usually are technology stocks, and usually technology stocks are fairly expensive. In fact, this whole method of selling covered calls is expensive because you have to own 100 shares. And speaking of owning shares, you have to be okay owning these companies too, because there's a chance that these companies short term could lose some value. They could go down. And some of them are even riskier. So you might lose money and it might not come back, at which point you'd have to consider taking a loss. So I took some of these screenshots on Monday. It's Wednesday now. But remember, earlier on in the week, the premiums tend to be higher. I sell weekly covered calls. They expire on Friday. I usually buy them on Monday. As you get closer to expiration, which in this case would be Friday, the premiums decrease in value. Here we have Enphase, which I've been selling covered calls on periodically. It was $41 around Monday at 11 in the morning, which is when I took all of these screenshots. So let's see here, 41.76. Usually I go like right out of the money, so to 42. You'd make $143 for every contract that you had. Solar Edge is another volatile stock. It's $26.59. So if we just go to say like the $27 strike price, we're making $100 on every 100 shares that we have. So you have 200 shares, you sell 2 contracts, you could make $204. Up next is a very volatile stock, Supermicro Computer. It is $46.82. So if we went to 47, you could make $136 a week on this method, but really volatile. Now, just to show you, Lululemon is extremely expensive, right? It's $239 a share. 100 shares would cost you almost $24,000. But look at the premiums. If you go $1 out, so it's $239 even. So if we went to $240, you would be making $375 per contract. The thing about these stocks is that they're volatile now, but they might not always be volatile, which is why you have to have a Rolodex. You can't just have one stock that you do this method on and it works for you, because when that volatility decreases over time, which it will for all stocks, then what are you going to do? What are you going to sell covered calls on? So you can't just be depending on the one thing forever. Big Bear is another very volatile stock right now. It's $7.38. So if we went to something like the 750 call or strike price, $50. $50. Now take a look at this, 738. So if you compare this to say Lululemon, which is $24,000 for 100 shares to make $375, you could buy more shares of Big Bear with a smaller amount of money. It wouldn't cost you $24,000 to make. In fact, you could buy 1,000 shares. It would cost you $7,380, and you could make around $500 selling those 10 contracts. So that's much less money than, say, Lululemon. Finally, we have another very volatile stock. It's D-Wave, the quantum computing stock, $16.50. So if we go to the $17 strike price, you could make $53. Now, of course, this isn't financial advice, and I'm not recommending you buy those companies to sell covered calls. I'm just using it as an example that very volatile stocks can pay higher premiums. I'm also using it as an example to show you that you can buy one company like Lululemon or even Tesla, for example, that'll cost you $30,000, or you can buy several hundred shares in a more affordable company and make the same or even maybe a little bit more or just close to it. The whole thing about covered calls is it's really easy. Anyone can do it. Unfortunately, it's just going to cost you a little bit of money. You have to have the capital up front to buy the shares to do it. But once you have those shares, you can generate monthly income. I'm making anywhere from $400 to $600 a week doing this. And I hate it when content creators say, not a flex, just to show you. But really, in this case, it is just to show you.